All right, Cole, let's talk about the Pike County Central Hawks season last year. They were 8-21 under head coach Brian Whitaker before Coach Amos got the job. They kind of had a rough year, and they lose one of their better players in Jacob Young, who averaged 15 points per game and 5.3 rebounds.
Yeah, they didn't have their best season last year, but I think Coach Amos is going to come in and change that around pretty quickly like he did last year. Greenup County, he's a go-getter. Really liked his coaching style, and I think he'll flip it around pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely tough to improve on an 8-win. I mean, it's not hard to improve on an 8-win season, but it's tough to improve dramatically and get to the 20-win plateau. But hopefully, he can win a couple more games this year, a couple more games next year, and be competing for the regional crown.
I do think they have that opportunity to do so. They're returning Bryce Adkins, 12 points per game last year.
And he was a pretty good shooter. He shot 60 for 193 from three, and he was 74.5% from the line.
Yeah, he can play. He's a good player. And, maybe they bring in some transfers like some other teams in Eastern Kentucky are doing right now, and I think that would help Coach Amos a lot for this upcoming season.
Right. A lot of kids in Eastern Kentucky are just all over the place. New high school this year, new high school next year. So I'm sure they'll get some kids, and if Coach Amos does a good job, they can have a chance to win 20 games, and Coach Amos can have a chance to win Coach of the Year in their region.
100%. I know Coach Amos has coached at the junior college level, the D1 level, so he's kind of been all over the place with his coaching career, but that's where he knows all his stuff from. I mean, he's been under great coaches, comes from great brands, just really good coach, and I think he has what it takes to make this a winning season for them, over 500, and compete in their region and district.
So their schedule's actually in already for next year if we have a season, which we are sitting here fingers crossed for. But one of their big games of the year is Holy Cross, which is a Louisville team who actually won the All-A6 region last year, and that should be a good challenge for them. But Holy Cross graduated Sam Bearden, who is probably their best player and one of the best players they've had in the history of the program. But they have some other good games on the schedule. They have Betsy Lane.
Shelby Valley
For sure. Like, they're going to have a tough schedule next year, but they definitely have some winnable games. A cool game they have is on January 30th. They play Brown at Knightstown, Indiana, which is the Hoosier Gym, which is always a cool place to play at and place to be. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. All right, Cole, let's talk about the Pike County Central Hawks season last year.
Hello.
Hey, Coach Amos, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. All right, well, let's go ahead and kick this off. Just get started here. So our first question for you is, if we took you out on the golf course right now and played 18 holes, what would you shoot?
Somewhere between probably like an 88 and 93, I would say. So not great. Still got to work on that a little bit. And I should have gotten a lot better in this quarantine because there's nothing else to do.
That is right. You know, if you're shooting that, you're still shooting better than me.
I don't know.
I'm Noah Bryanstein, coach. I'm the other founder of Kentuckiana Hoops, and I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question. When you were growing up, who were your coaching idols?
Growing up, I really liked Rick Pitino a lot. I know a lot of UK fans would hate me for saying that, but when I was younger, his teams, shot a lot of threes and played fast-paced, pressed, and were really, really phenomenal. And then he went to the Celtics, and the rest is history. But I really, really looked up to Rick Pitino just mainly because of his style of play, and he was a sharp dresser.
Yeah, that definitely is true. His teams could play. So what does it mean to be a part of Chipola's coaching tree? Because there's so many legendary names that have came from there. So just give us a little rundown on coaching at the JUCO level.
Yeah, I'm honored to be even mentioned in the same breath as Chipola because so many, like you said, so many Division I head coaches, assistants, high major guys. They make a lot more money than I do. But the JUCO level for especially young guys getting into business, if you want to network, it's to none. If you want to coach really good players, if you want to get into, coach diversity and a lot of diverse backgrounds and where you're from, especially being from Kentucky, it's the way to go. And then if you really want to get your hands on every aspect of coaching, whether it's fundraising, academic monitoring, player development, scouting, recruiting, it's hands down the best way to go, small college or junior college.
Can you give us a little bit of a rundown about your career and the different levels you've been at?
Yeah, I mean, I played for 2 years in college at the University of Virginia at Wise, 2 program now. But other than that, I've been anywhere from a high school assistant, volunteer high school assistant, to 3 years at the junior college level. I was a grad assistant for 2 years at Marshall University, and those 3 junior colleges were Trinity Valley, Chipola, and Navarro. And then this is my 4th, Pike County Central will be my 4th head coaching job. And I've been at Breathitt County, Eminence, and Greenup. So for a young guy, I've been in a lot of places.
What type of player were you?
I was more of a shooting guard. I wasn't known in high school definitely for defensive prowess, but you had to learn how to defend at the collegiate level. But being a coach's son, I could play 1 through 3 in high school and college.
What made you want to get into coaching?
Probably because my father was a successful high school coach, then got into administration, and then I was around the game. Seemed like all the friends that came to our house or who we interacted with, especially on my father's side, were all coaches or referees or something. So growing up, I just found a love for the game, and I don't know, if there's any other way around it. But, when the playing days are over and you can't lace them up anymore, it's the best way to compete, and it's the best way to change lives, in my opinion.
Okay, so you've been to a lot of different places and levels during your coaching career. So what levels typically have the most difficult adjustment to get used to? Let's say Rogel Dryden. What do you think's who is your player at Greenup County, really good player? What's going to be his hardest transition going to play at Bossier Parish in Louisiana?
The biggest transition, I think, that with my hands-on experience, is guys going from the high school to collegiate level. The pace of the game, not having someone to pretty much hold your hand in the hallways, make sure you go places. You've got to really learn responsibility and mature at a faster rate. And, Rodrell's from Lexington, from Kentucky, so he's going to be a long way from home. And luckily, Bossier Parish has a staff that, he trusted and I trust, and they'll be able to monitor him. And they do a great job at the junior college level, the successful ones do, of making sure those guys succeed. But Rod will have to learn, even off the floor, he has to learn how to, there's you got to set an alarm clock, man. I mean, it's what every individual goes to college has to endure.
What's one of the biggest
of the game different?
What's one of the biggest adjustments for you as a coach moving from level to level?
My adjustment coming from the collegiate level back to high school is the talent. You can't recruit in high school legally and all that, so that's a big issue there, and the pace. And then, there's no shot clock, so the pace can slow down. I mean, you see teams, I know there's a lot of controversy on social media, the teams that hold the ball in a district first round and get beat 16-12, and, they're like shot clock. Well, you put a shot clock in, obviously a team couldn't do that. But for me, it's the talent level, and that's largely due that we had some really talented players at the places I've been.
What are your goals with Pike County Central this upcoming season?
We just want to be a very competitive basketball team. Pike Central has never went to the state tournament, so I'm thinking long term. I think it's school in 1994. District championship. You're always trying to get to that 20-win plateau as a coaching program to get it trending upward. And I'm just trying to put the toughest product on the floor we can.
So throughout the next few years, of course, you're at Pike County Central right now. Do you plan on going back to coaching college soon, or are you going to stick around at the high school level here in Kentucky?
I mean, I'm very satisfied with where I'm at right now. If you want to coach high school basketball, I think Kentucky or Indiana would be the two spots you wanted to be at, just because of how much passion's involved in that. But I'm not going to say down the road that if the right opportunity presented itself, I wouldn't entertain that idea. But as of right now, I'm so committed to Pike Central and trying to get them to levels they've never reached before.
What are the keys to building a successful program at the high school level in the state of Kentucky?
Tradition helps a lot, but I mean, you're as strong as your administration. You have to have, along with good players, obviously, you've got to have a strong support system that, financially they'll back you. I know that's a stretch for even public and private schools right now with what's going on, but booster clubs, parents, you got to have parent involvement, and it really starts at the grassroots level and the YBLs, whatever they call them at different areas. But you got to get in the youth leagues and start developing a culture and a system. And like the reason Scott County, in Georgetown was so successful is those kids ran the same stuff from when they were in second and third grade until they were senior high school, walking across the page. And very, very successful program. So I think it starts from that. But and developing a culture, I know that's a cliche thing every new coach says, but you develop a winning culture and tradition, you've already got 10 or 15 points where you walk in the gym just for putting that uniform on, and it takes a long time to get there. But that's something we're hoping to do here.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you bring in some players, Pike County Central is definitely going to be a team that competes for a state tournament run. So throughout your coaching career, what has been the toughest challenge for you?
Really, just trying to implement your system at the places you've been. I mean, it's never really mattered to me about moving around. Like, I'm still in the process of moving here in Pikeville, but I kind of like the thrill. I like the relationships and getting to know people and developing those, and just traveling as much. But the hardest part is getting your new players to believe in you, to buy what you're selling, so to speak. And, the results kind of speak for themselves and what we've been able to accomplish everywhere. But, it's not easy. It's never easy. And, sometimes that comes with kids quitting or, cutting losses and things of that nature. But that's part of it anytime you take a new job. But the first 2 or 3 weeks or first, at least month of a new job, when you're around them a lot, that's the hardest time because the trust factor.
When you are trying to build a culture, what are the keys for you as a coach, and what do you focus on as a part of that culture?
Discipline above all things. I've went into different situations, and everybody has their own, way of doing things. But going in and establishing, this is how we're going to be. You're not going to be late. You're not going to be a distraction on or off the court. And just, one of the things I do, just an example, is on game days, if it's a home game day, my guys wear shirts and ties to school. And that's because, a lot of people are looking at you anyways, and you're setting a positive example. So one of these days you're going to put one of those on and go to a job interview. So it's things of that nature. And then, obviously winning takes care of everything. But as soon as I go in, I try to market our program, get the students sections involved and things of that nature. And I try to get us in the freshest gear, which that's what everybody loves now. But, just establishing, a culture. When we walk in the gym, you know who we are.
So speaking about next year, and your schedule's already out and set. So what game are you most looking forward to next year?
I don't have, one pinpoint. I mean, obviously we seed in this district. So all those are the ones I'm looking forward to the most just because they have postseason implications. And as of right now, we're a 3-team district. So if you win the regular season, you're automatically in the regional tournament. So those four would be the 4 games I'm looking forward to the most. But getting to go back and coach in the Hoosier Gym again late in January, that was a very special thing for us at Green Up last year. I don't know how many of the kids even had watched the movie before we went, but the parents loved it, and I loved it. So that's a game I'm really looking forward to again, just because it's kind of like you're a part of history, and it was definitely a bucket list thing last year.
What kind of players do you really like to have in your program?
I love, you're talking about like playing wise or just the total package?
Yeah, like what's like the perfect guy who would just put your program into one word, or like one guy who like is the perfect example of your program? What would he be?
Everybody expects you to say, I love a guy shooting at 50% from 3, 56, 40-inch vertical, all those intangible. My favorite guys are the guys that take 3 or 4 charges in a game, will lead us in rebounding, and I've had guards lead us in rebounding before. That's one particular point of my coaching philosophy is, you can pass, dribble, and shoot. You never rebound too much. One of those guys that you just don't expect and just grinds, plays hard, never takes days off. That would be my favorite guy in our culture. But, I'll take any guy that can, fill it up 25 or 30 a night. They're going to be a favorite guy too.
If someone was watching one of your practices, what would you want them to walk away with?
Those guys play hard. If we're in there 90 minutes or 2 hours, those guys play hard and get after it. And, they work as a individual, as one unit, and, they've got a common goal. Because, on my practice plan, there's an emphasis of the day every day. And it doesn't usually pertain to, hey, we're going to get better defensively or anything like that. It's more the mental aspect. And you guys being players, you know how important that is.
So, Coach, of course, being in Eastern Kentucky and coaching out there, it's a different type of ball game. It's really tough and hard-nosed basketball. So, is that your style, or are you more of a get up and down or plays?
You can't be from Eastern Kentucky and not shoot. I don't think that it could be in your bloodlines. But, my ideal style is I want to score 75, 80, 85 points a game. I love the West Virginia teams of 2015, 16. Pressing, keeping it up tempo. And my ideal style would be to play like the, 95, 96, 97 University of Kentucky Rick Pitino teams. I like shooting 25 or 33. But as you well know, at the high school level, you got to play to your personnel. I've had to call 55, 60 sets in a game before every possession, and it's not my style, but signs of good coach. A good coach is being able to adjust to your clientele and personnel.
Do you think there's a playing style that fits the state of Kentucky better than another?
I always thought if you looked traditionally, and you go back in the years, if you go like to Joe B. Hall and all that, then compare the way University of Kentucky played, nothing against the U of L, but how they played compared to how high school was going, I thought there was a direct correlation because for some reason I think all these high school coaches would mimic what UK was doing. If it was the 3-out, 2-in, high-low with the Twin Towers, or if it's dribble drive, whatever UK does, I think that kind of dominates the state. So that's whatever style the University of Kentucky is playing basketball-wise, I think that's a style that's probably what's going on in the state.
So, really? So I saw one of your players today just committed to Alice Lloyd, Brady Nelson. I think that's going to be a great fit for him. I think I know on the phone last week we were talking, and you said he'd be a great fit at the NAIA level, and that's where he ended up, and that's a great place to be at.
Yeah, I'm really happy for him. He's on kind of a senior trip with a couple of his teammates and some of his friends, getting away since things are starting to open up. And he texted me early for him is 11 a.m., so he'll have to get out of that. But he texted me around then and said he's going to commit today, and he went and visited, kind of, I don't know if it's virtual or however, but and he liked it and liked what they'd offered and things. But Brady will do well at that level. He's scored a lot of points, but he's one of the best passers I've ever coached at any level. There's a reason over 2 seasons he averaged 7.5, 7.7 assists a game, and having Rod and Xander this past year had really helped with that too. But he just makes his teammates better.
After being so many places, what's the biggest adjustment to just being at a new place every year, pretty much?
Like getting to know the people, and then through the interview process, many times that comes up. So that's something you got to overcome. I've never went into a job thinking I was just going to be there 1 year or 2 years. It's just kind of happened that way. But the area, I'm pretty much married to the game of basketball, so that really doesn't affect me. But just getting acclimated with the people of the area, because no matter where you're at in the state of Kentucky, and even different parts of different counties is different. So getting used and acquainted with the people is really the first obstacle I try to overcome.
Well, Coach, thank you for your time. That's all the questions we had. We appreciate you joining us today on the podcast, and we wish you the best of luck at Pike County Central this year. And we're definitely going to keep a watch on yourself and your team, and just keep up with you guys on social media, because what you're doing in Kentucky high school basketball is great, and we're huge fans.
Hey, thank you so much, and what you guys are doing is phenomenal, and I'm already a big fan, and I look forward to all your successes, because you're going to be very successful.
Well, thank you, Coach. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks to all of our listeners for listening to the Kentuckiana Hoops podcast, and thanks to Coach Robert Amos for giving us such a great podcast.
For the rest of the summer, we will be doing podcasts every Monday and Friday. So it'll be twice a week, and we hope to get some pretty good guests on here for you guys to listen to, and we look forward to it.
All right, thank you.